And I just want to clarify here, when you say don't put anyone on a pedestal, but put yourself on pedestal, that's what you mean. So people need to understand that everything is already happening here, aliveness in here. This is what you're saying to them. Aliveness is with you, it's not with anyone else. Your aliveness is your aliveness. When you're dead, you can't, grasp any teachings.
Just interrupt. Let me interrupt. I'm not saying put yourself on a pedestal. I'm saying don't put anyone on a pedestal. Just see yourself as a human being. If you have self-esteem, it's because of the way that you are in the world. And it could vary. It could, maybe the cop on the corner has self-esteem because he's protecting the community. If he is. And he feels good about himself, but he doesn't think that he's the most powerful or better than the people around him. I don't think that I can say, I don't think I'm better than Nisargadatta, but I don't think I'm worse than Nisargadatta either. I just think I'm Robert, and I have my song to sing. Nisargadatta had his song to sing. No one really understood him. He said that. One person understood him in all those years. And that's my experience too. Not that many people understand what I'm talking about, but some do. And when someone does, it feels great. And so is that narcissistic? A little. See, it feels good to be recognized, but it's not an unhealthy narcissism, because I don't need anyone to say that. If no one says it and I go for a walk on the beach, I'll be happy also. I always am. I'll be happy and sad at the same time. That's my actual condition. I'm happy and sad at the same time, all the time, wherever I am. Happy and sad at the same time. Just like those masks of tragedy and comedy that you see outside the theater. If you look into my mind, they'll both be there. And that's an emotional state. So this is what we call awake. I am saying, and I know many people will disagree. That's fine. But to me, it's an emotional state, meaning that it's psychological. It's a psychological state, and it's a kind of sanity. It's what I'm expressing from my point of view is a kind of healthy regard of what we are as humans, a good way to look at it. But is it truth with a capital T? Of course not. Nobody has access to that. And that's why we should stop listening to these teachers who claim to know truth about anything. Once someone uses that word with a big T, small t is okay. It's relatively true. Okay, but to say something is absolutely true, if you hear someone say that, run for the exits. Take off the mala with his picture in the lock and throw it. Like Osho. Hypnotic trance.
Hypnotic trance.
Yes, and finishes every sentence with "Cat from India," not some great adept. And he just learned the moves, and he was very bright. And he had seriously read all of these books that I've read some of also. And he restated them very accurately. He was very bright, and he got it. So in a way, if you just listen to some of his early talks, they were good. But what became of that turned into a cult, a terrible, vicious cult, where some of the cult members were ready to commit murders and make people sick and lie to people to steal their homes and their land and all the rest of it. So a few minutes ago, you said, well, there's nothing we can do about it. I suppose nothing we can do about it. I don't believe that. There's nobody can do anything in a certain sense. So we are this arising. But what you and I are doing, we're not really doing it. We're just the mouthpieces for this happening. But we get to participate in an event that probably will do some good. maybe 1 or 2 people of all the people who hear this recording, they'll say, because that has happened with me.
Yeah.
I know some people now. This will sound immodest, you see, but I'm only trying to be honest. There's a bunch of people, more than just a handful, who came upon my writing or my videos, and now when I meet them, they're all grown up. They don't need me.
Yes.
They're not hanging out with me. I'm still friends with some of them, but I mean, there's not this, Robert, what's the next thing? Or what do you think of this and that? It's done.
Yeah. If that openness is there, if that, to hear and to read and to take it to the heart, probably, I don't know how to say that, but if the openness is there to hear it, it can strike at the right time, and few people have benefited from this.
Yes, and the thing that makes it possible, in my understanding, Sabine, is that that's what I want to happen. I don't want followers. Yes. I want people who may feel some gratitude toward me, because Robert was this guy I ran into 8 years ago, and boy, I read his book, and ever since then, I've been doing something different. Yeah. I want to talk about this book, The 10,000 Things.
Yes.
I'll hold it up.
The 10,000 Things.
Okay, a few things. This is the edition with the photographs, and it's really beautifully presented and printed. Julian Noyce designed this book, and I think he did a really beautiful job. It's a large format square book with nice photos. Okay, this thing has been selling on the used market for between $100 and $200 for a used copy. But you can get a new copy. New copies are actually available. But the link on Amazon somehow is broken. And so people have been buying the used copies for an exorbitant fee. So the new copy costs $35. It's expensive, but it's nicely printed. Yes. I've got this thing together here, yeah. If you want to get that book, go to this first line, the ISBN number in your browser on Amazon. Go to Amazon and then put it in the Amazon search box. Yes. And you will get a link to this actual book, which is available. Okay.
Or you can go to Julian Noyce's website, which is newsarumpress.com.
Yes, I think you could do that too.
I can see it. Yeah.
He had the link broken for a while too, was the problem.
Oh, okay.
I think he's got it straightened out, but there's his website is there.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah.
And the third line is, if you like my photographs, people have been asking me for this link.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah. That is nice. Yes, folio.com. I like that. It's really, your photographs are amazing. I had a look a couple of times. It's amazing. Yeah.
So about this book.
Yeah.
You'd mentioned Batgap.
Yeah.
So since my name comes up there all the time, as I was one of the interviewees, and this one woman took me to task for what she called promoting my book. She says, you're always promoting your book, as if that's a bad thing. And I just thought, this is kind of strange. She has this weird attitude that someone who writes a book should not be wanting people to read it. But of course I want people to read it. That's why I wrote it. It's kind of amazing if you really think about that. What was she saying? That you're supposed to write the book and then no one reads it and you just stay quiet because you disagree with Rick?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it needs to be read, isn't it? That's why it's been written, to probably help someone, also. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I do not do what I do to help anyone.
Yeah.
And that was a hard lesson, but I learned it as a psychotherapist. If that's your motive, you will burn out.
Yeah.
But if your motive is simply to express your best self at all times, you won't burn out because that feeds you. So if you have an outside aim to save the world, save the trees, whatever it is, it's okay. I don't mean we shouldn't have these projects, but the satisfaction has to come in the moment, not because I helped someone. I mean, I mentioned before that people had come into contact with my attitude expressed in my photographs or my writings or videos or this kind of thing. That's why I do it, because I'm relevant. I get that. Somehow I'm this one of these old guys who's not boring and weird, but is relevant to younger people's lives. That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I did this interview with Hardy Haberland. I don't know if you got to see any of that.
Yeah.
He's a German podcaster and a guy in his 20s and real energetic, go-getting kind of guy on the make, you know, and it was a great conversation.
Yes.
And although we live in two different worlds on that level, I'm an old man and he's a young man and he's very ambitious and my ambitions are satisfied or forgotten by now. But yet there's something in my message that he found relevant. Now that feels really good to me.
Yes.
But not, if I'm really honest, because I'm helping someone, but because I like being relevant. You see, it's always about you. If you're really honest and can locate where that is, and you look at it honestly, you may get self-esteem from that. Not that you are an enlightened being or God speaks through you or some of these are crazy ideas, see? If we cut it down to a human level, I'm this guy, this old guy living in a dusty little town, and people from all over the world are interested in what I have to say. My God, wow. But so what?
So what?
I will die and the oceans will close, burial at sea. You know, they throw you overboard, the water flows, everyone forgets pretty quick.
Yes.
That has to be okay.
Yeah.
If it is, you'll never know what Nisargadatta was talking about, or Robert Saltzman. You won't, or Ramana Maharshi.
Yeah.
It's not about permanence.
Yeah.
Nisargadatta was misunderstood because he seemed to be implying that he had identified with the oneness, the permanent thing always exists. This is hard to get out in words, but I'll just give it a shot. In a way, that's true, except that thing is undefined, and therefore the self is undefined. And that, you see, that's no self. Not that there isn't a self. Yes, there is one, but it has no fixed essence that we can ever fully comprehend. It's too big. There's nothing outside it to look at it and observe its essence. Do you see? It has no essence. Everything within it has an essence. The microphone has one essence and this body has another one. They're acting out different, but the self doesn't exist in any way that can be comprehended. And so if a guy like Nisargadatta realizes that, and he realizes that he has just understood himself, that it can't be understood. See, I wrote this in both of my books. I'll hold up the other one since I'm not supposed to. If one thing about myself, if you tell me that I'm not supposed to do something, you can be sure that I'm going to fucking do it. I mean, come on.
Yes, I love that. Depending on how thing I've got it through.
You know, my father pushed me around enough. I'm not going to take that from anybody now that I'm a grown. So, you know, I've lost the thread, see, being old. And I went to promote my book. This is depending on another thing. This is available in German also.
Oh, wow, is it?
Yes.
I didn't realize.
Nice translation done by this Austrian guy who came from Santos. Yeah.
A good one too.
It's on Amazon. So I've now officially promoted my books. I'm extremely happy to have done so.
Yeah. I liked actually what Nisargadatta said. He said something similar. I probably have it on my YouTube channel. Probably I did extract, maybe. I can't remember. He talked about the difference between a person when they're dying, how they're resisting and suffering, like they're not letting go in most cases. Some do, but he said the one who has forever recognized their true nature, they basically they just die knowing it's kind of relief. It's like resting from it's like a rest. And I really like that. And I used to repeat that bit from his video at times. And I really like what you say. Think about that and live probably according to that, knowing it's like closer to your breath than you should.
You put it right on your shoulder. And that's the wisdom place.
Yes.
I think it was that Yaqui Indian character, Don Juan, who said this. You keep your death is always waiting on your left shoulder, he said, right? Yeah. So also the Stoics, the Greek Stoics, who were not religious, they were philosophers. They didn't have any God. They or worship. They said memento mori, which means remembrance of death. That's the wisdom. If we keep that remembrance that I'm going to die and everyone I'm dealing with here is going to die also, it puts things into perspective. And then we may not always be nice and sweet and kind and all of this, like a spiritual person thinks you're supposed to be, but we will be something much better, in my view, better. We will be humane. Humane.
Yes.
We will see that other people have a hard road, just like I do, just like we all do, just like Nisargadatta did. That's why he got so smart. He had a pretty hard road. He was selling cigarettes in Mumbai to try to make a living. Yes, hand rolling his beaties, I mean, come on. And somehow he became wise, very wise. And he started to talk about that, and he gained power in the community. And then the shit hit the fan. But I got a letter from someone in Mumbai now who knew Nisargadatta, and he said Nisargadatta was famous for patronizing the brothels.
Yeah, I've heard that, but for me, it's okay. I've heard that because my teacher went to see Nisargadatta, and but to me, it was still better in a way. Like it's okay. Like they wanted to marry him off when his wife died, and he said, I married my freedom. That's what he said. So he basically, it's probably better that than sleeping with your disciples. That's how I see it.
I wasn't just good or bad. I don't really do that. Good and bad are part of my vocabulary. But no, what I mean is it made him human. Or a human animal. A man who gets erections every morning and needs sex. Yes.
See, but that's what people don't realize. I
don't want to know that. I want to know that this guy didn't transcend all this. They're acting, they're like evangelicals. What can I say? They're pious. They're fundamentalists. They're acting holy and everything because the great man said this and that. Well, the great man liked to smoke cigarettes and fuck women. Okay. That doesn't make him a bad person. It just makes him a person. That's what has to be seen. See, it's normal. Fine. No worries.
And he had this animal skin, like he sat on it, like what they call the fur or something from the animal. And people ask him why he wasn't vegetarian and all that stuff. So, yeah, they think you all of a sudden you heavenly saints.
My friend Walter and I, and Catania, my wife, the three of us used to sit on sheepskins, naked at night, drinking cognac and discussing these Gurdjieff, because Walter was a Gurdjieff person. His teacher, Willem Nyland, had been a very close, dear friend of Gurdjieff's. And Willem was Walter's teachers, and Walter was very big on Gurdjieff. So we heard many thousands of stories, inside stories, good ones, about, and a lot of them were the same kind of thing, about how Gurdjieff was this ordinary kind of guy, and this inflated thing arose around him because the followers, that was the other half of the equation. Okay, that got me back on track. So the teacher has this narcissistic wounding and needs to keep trying to heal it by fresh supplies of narcissistic adoration and recognition. It's like a Donald Trump or won't mention his name. You mentioned it earlier, but I won't. And person, if they don't get it, they start to wilt like a flower. They start to die. See, they really need that. It's like Tinkerbell and do you believe in fairies? Then I can live. See, it's like, I know. That's his side of it. The great guru. That's his side of it. Usually a his, not too many. There are a few women, not many. But what does the follower get out of it? The follower is also narcissistically wounded and needs fresh supplies. The way they get it is by being able to tell themselves, my guru is a realized being, and that light thereby reflects on me. I'm in the right side of history here. I'm with the good people. I'm in the in crowd. And this, every time they get a hit from the guru, do we have time? Let me take a step back. There's a part of the brain, the accumbens area, accumbens. And that part of the brain is particularly sensitive to dopamine. Any little bit of dopamine that's injected into that area is felt as intense pleasure by the body and the mind. So a lot of our behavior is designed to manipulate getting these little injections of dopamine. A lot of them are, all kinds. Sex, for sure, that's a gigantic dopamine. An orgasm is a gigantic dopamine hit. Drugs, a shot of alcohol, dopamine is released, or cocaine, marijuana, dopamine. But also a pleasant word from someone will give you a little dopamine hit, or making a bet and winning it. There are many ways to get these supplies. And we need them. A joyless life is what it means to live without dopamine. You're not getting enough hits. So we manipulate, we're animals, just the way a rat will drink out of sugar water, if they learn to push the lever and lap it up. We have the same brain, it's just more evolved, but the old parts are still there. See, the architecture of the brain, Sabine, this is so interesting. Our brains aren't different from a lizard's brain. They're just more grown on top, but the lizard brain parts are still there. They didn't evolve. We just grew new stuff on top of it. Truly. So we have the same fight it, flee it, or fuck it that the lizard had when it came upon another lizard. This is what we do when we come upon another human being. If we're simpatico, we get along, get the dopamine hit. Or if we feel threatened or something, we'll run away or try to fight it. That's just the way it is. It's a very deep programming, and no one is superior to it. Not Nisargadatta, not anybody.
Yeah.
We're functioning this way. And that is a much more accurate understanding of what myself is than this vastness that teachers are trying to impose upon us. No, you are not that. You are a person, and you are a person because you were conditioned from birth with a deep conditioning, and there is no way to rid oneself of that conditioning.
Yeah.
You can see it. You can work with it. You can improve parts of it. All that is possible. There's a project there if somebody wants to work on it.
Yeah.
If you're lucky enough to have that desire, I should say, because no one can choose to work on it. But if you're lucky enough to see yourself as a work in progress, instead of being all bummed out, you say, this is a fixer-upper. That's just luck. Another person will have a similar face and body and brain and look at it and say, oh boy, I lost out in the genetic pool this time. I'm fucked.
Yeah.
No, but if you're lucky enough, you can work with it, but not if you keep telling yourself, I'm the universe, I'm the whole universe. This is a hypnotic trance. No, you aren't. There is a universe.
Yeah.
And you may understand someday how little you know about it. And then when that happens, a great deal of clouds will dissipate and you may actually see the sun shining. And then you'll say, wow, I'm awake. But you no longer will say, I'm the universe. Yeah. You'll say, I'm this animal who awakened somehow. And I have no idea how I got here, what this is, where it's headed, what it's intended to be, what I'm supposed to do, what anyone else needs to do. No idea.
Yeah, that's I know nothing. I know nothing. It might arise. Yeah.
Yes, I know nothing about all that stuff. There are things I know, but they're contained in a very small area. Yeah. And outside of that, it's all terra incognita. Yeah. It's unknown. Now, I think the thing that people like about me and my books is that that's all I keep saying. I keep saying it because as soon as someone sees it, it's all over.
Yeah.
That's it. It doesn't take more than 5 minutes. It's just something you need to understand, that you're not in control.
Yes.
You're not doing this. There is no you that can do things like that. The you, at best, is a rather sane participant in all of this. You kind of go along with it because you can't help it.
Yeah.
And you say, gee, I'm kind of fucked, but might as well have a good time while I'm here because I'm only going to die anyway. And so is everyone else. See, that's freedom. Not that you have attained masterhood.
Yeah.
No, that's silly. And when people talk that way, they're fucked, and the people who follow them are fucked. So this guy whose name begins with an M, I think I did mention him earlier, that want his feet kissed. The guy's a nutcase, man. A stone nutcase. He has people kissing his feet. That is disgusting.
Yeah.
And
apparently it stopped. Someone said it stopped finally, so they're not doing that anymore. Yeah.
I wonder if they stopped selling the photographs of Holy Earth in the gift shop.
I don't know.
What they do is someone follows him around wherever he steps down. They dig that up and put it in a bottle, label it up, and put it in the gift shop.
Well, people say it's kind of like followers contribute to that, but to me, the moment you do something like that, if you allow that to happen, you're basically encouraging seekers to believe that you are very special. That's how I see it. Like, I'm special, so you might become, if you pray to me or whatever, you might become as special as I am. So it really, you just forget why you came for, like to get the message to come to understanding, you know. And what do you think about pointers? Because I've heard you, it's interesting. But I would like you to share it about pointers helping. Do you think they might help or?
Well, A pointer is basically a platitude. It's a series of words that has been said many times and serves a certain purpose. It serves a certain purpose. It's a brief way of, it's a brief reminder of some apparent true thing or something to be understood.
Yeah.
In this case, I will answer your question with a pointer. I'll give you a pointer. It's not the finger pointing to the moon to which one's attention needs to go. It's the moon.
Yeah.
That's a pointer, and it's pointing to pointers in general. Don't get stuck on the pointer, because the pointers are wrong and right. They're at the same time. They're generalizations, but they may be true. But definitely do not get stuck. And this is something I wrote about.
Yeah.
Oh, I think what I said in one of my books was, if a dog sees me pointing at the moon, it looks at my hand and wags its tail. Why? Because the dog loves me and thinks everything I do is just super.
Yeah.
And never even sees the moon. Now, you see, that's the whole point.
I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah. This is not false humility. This is real humility.
Yeah.
See, this is humility. And people say, oh, Robert's now saying he's humble, so he can't be humble. That's bullshit. Don't believe anybody who talks that way. That's not true. You have to see yourself. The truth is that I am intellectually humble. I'm an intellectually humble person. I know that there are many people in this world who are better informed than I am on many subjects, and that I'm not an expert on many things at all, and that I know nothing about final matters. Zero, zilch, nada. Now, that's real humility. But I'm not putting that on. It's not a pose. I'm speaking the absolute truth of my own self-understanding. I'm an ignorant person. We're all ignorant. We human beings know shit.
Yeah.
This universe is vast.
Yeah.
Most of it's invisible to us. And some scientists say that this is only one of countless universes.
Yeah.
There's some people believe that every time a decision point is reached, you flip a coin, there's one universe where it came up heads, there's another universe where it came up tails. So now where there was one universe, it now ramifies. It branches off into two universes, and then those branch off. And so they're infinite universes, and we're just in one of them.
Yeah.
Now, some people might say that's nonsense. It's a lot less nonsense than Jesus will open the pearly gates.
Yeah.
A lot less.
Yeah. You know, I like that when you said that probably others are better informed than I am. Like I felt the same when it struck me. I was like, it was a relief. I understood everyone sitting in that room had more knowledge than me about the spirituality, because I was a total dummy, because I never knew any of this. I wasn't sitting with someone for 20 years, you know, and all of a sudden it just understanding that I knew nothing, but it was a relief. It wasn't, I didn't feel like dumb, you know, whatever. I would just laugh. And, but sometimes even at work, I don't have, like, what I have to do, I do, but I can't absorb so much information. There's so much it goes through, because you don't store it in your brain. You know, if you stored everything in your brain would be, your head would be massive. So it all passes, arises and subsides. So,
well, technology, I think, is really interesting, because now what I call Robert is this brain plus Google.
Yeah. I
don't even think I have to remember all these facts that I once tried to remember. If I need one, I'll just Google it.
Yeah.
Yes. Me too. No, but in a way that really is me, because I know it's there and I can get it if I need it.
Yeah.
And that's I heard this, someone else say this. I can't cite it right now. If I know that that's there, that's the same as knowing a telephone number that you really know in your physical brain. Yeah. I don't know the number right now, but I know it's there if I need it. I can think of it.
Yes.
This is the same thing. I know I can Google it if I need it. And so I can more concentrate on my emotional and sensory experiences and let the cogitation just kind of flow, not have to assemble all these facts.
Yeah.
See, the Dunning effect, there's another word to it. I won't Google it now. Maybe it'll come to me. Begins with a K, I think. Anyway, there's this noted psychological effect that people who are ignorant don't know their own ignorance because they don't know enough about any subject to see how ignorant they are. They don't know enough about anything. This is a lot of Trump supporters are like this. They actually don't know anything about anything, but they think they do because they don't know enough to know how little they really know. So there's a whole, a big part of humanity is stuck. They're below water. Their heads are underwater. They don't actually see anything except these ideas that they consider real, that were programmed into them intentionally by propaganda and crowd manipulation techniques. That's their world. There's no criticism of it at all. They're too stupefied and hypnotized to even know that they don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when this COVID thing really got serious and everybody saw that how Trump was mishandling it entirely, everyone in the world saw that.
Yeah.
I think the Trump people, supporters, somehow believed that he was doing a good job. How could they possibly think that? I'm not talking about do they like Trump as a person, or do they think that wealthy guys who like to grab pussies are real cool guys? Maybe they do, but why could they possibly see this mess that was being made and believe that he was doing something positive? How could somebody be that ignorant? Because they are that ignorant. Now I'm making a point here. No, I'm not trying to get Trump in trouble. He's already jumped the shark long ago.
Yeah.
But I see the same thing, and I know people are going to hate this, in so-called spirituality. There were a lot of spiritual people who think Trump is a real cool guy, self-described spiritual people. How could they? How could they think that there's anything about this guy that's spiritual? Where are they coming from? They're coming from it. They have no critical faculties at all. They only know what's been put into their minds. They only imagine that they know things. And these are the people that get on these Facebook threads, Sabine, and write about non-duality. And they're arguing about it. And to me, it looks bizarre. It's just so off. It's so off and out to lunch and nothing to do with what the real non-duality teachers, there have been some real ones over time, not many though, but there have been. And they had I'm not saying non-duality is the ultimate understanding. I don't think it is, but it could be, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But these teachers were wise people who had a real argument to make. You could listen to what they were saying and get with it. That's not what I see happening on Facebook. It's not just the famous spiritual teachers. You have all the imitators of those people who are just writing their bullshit on the Facebook threads. It makes me want to stop contributing there, really, except it's the outreach I have. So I'm just, at this point, I'm 75 years old. I'm not going to whip up, I think I'm, I think I'm too old for Twitter. I don't think I could, the strain on my heart would be too much. I know.
I know, it's not very good. I'm saying, yeah, I agree with that. So yeah, I'm a bit like put off by everything, just all the copying, like there's not much genuine, to be honest, in social media, especially Facebook is, actually I wish it disappears, to be honest. Like it just, from what I've seen in the last, what I created Facebook for my teacher to promote him. That was the reason. I think about 5 years ago, I can't remember now. And I noticed that most people who were seekers back then, they have just the new teachers. They're still the seekers. So I'm thinking, does it help much, really? People being, sometimes probably does, I'm not sure. You might come across someone who needs some information, you know, who might need to hear something. They might hear you, you know, and get a link to your video and hear what they need to hear in a moment. Because when I see people who are in desperate need of help, the way I was, like seriously, like health-wise, and back then it was psychological, and help was there. But at that point, I didn't have a Facebook. I didn't need a Facebook to get a help. I just, it was word of mouth. The guy was in my town, so that was handy, you know. And desperation was there. You don't even need to like Messenger at all. This is why I get a bit frustrated with them. I can't help it, I know, but with the seekers, you know, I don't like the Messenger. Readiness is there, master appears or whatever. It can be a falling leaf. That can be your pointer, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what I see.
A true teacher is ultimately disappointing. They have to disappoint you if they're really doing their job.
Yes.
Yes, because the way that works, whether it's a psychotherapist or a guru, spiritual guru,
yeah,
you'll try to project your good stuff onto them. That's what happens. They become a hook for all the good stuff in you. You keep the bad stuff and feel guilty, but all the wisdom and everything, they have it.
Yeah.
They actually don't, though. It's actually yours. And if they're really doing the job, they reflect it back onto you. And you say, oh, no, I get it. See, that's the real job. But if you need followers, you can't do that job properly. And that's where the failure is. There, in Ecclesiastes, there's this beautiful verse about to everything there's a season, there's a time for everything. So if you're wounded, there's a time for healing. So if you found a guru or a spiritual teacher who could help you begin that process, that's all you need. You need to get a foot back on the ground, however you get it.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be the ground of ultimate reality, because nobody can give you that, just on the ground of something.
Yeah.
So someone can come upon my writing or whatever, hear this.
Yeah.
Say, gee, Robert's saying, find your own mind. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Find your own mind for a change. Stop listening to teachers,